Hi, I'm glad you joined me today. I'm going to continue on with my series about your spiritual armor. In the last few videos, I've been sharing songs with you that I've written, and the words to these songs are straight out of the Bible. They're Bible verses, and I just put melody to them, and that helps us memorize these verses. And so I just been sharing them with you. So I have another one to share today, and it's from Deuteronomy 32, verse 4. And it goes like this. He is the rock, his works are perfect, and all his ways are just. A faithful God who does no wrong, upright and just is he. And that's Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 4. Very easy melody and an easy verse to learn, but very powerful verse. Now, what I'd like to do for the rest of this video is share a personal testimony with you. Now remember, I told you in the beginning, this is not an exhaustive study about the armor of God. It's just some thoughts I've been sharing with you that I feel the Lord has given me and I thought might be encouraging to you. But I'm sure if you started looking up some of these verses and maybe looking up sometimes the verses have cross references on them that lead you to other verses, and you could do your own study about the shield of faith and probably learn some really exciting things. So by no means have I exhausted everything about the shield of faith, just been sharing some thoughts with you. And I hope they've been encouraging and helpful to you. Now, this testimony that I want to share with you, I want to make it very clear, this was not a vision I had or a dream or anything like that. It was some thoughts and ideas that God put into my mind as I was praying one day, and I wanted to share it with you. It made a big impact on my life and my walk with the Lord, and I believe God puts things into our minds that can help us put His word into practice in our lives. And so this is really, it's an illustration of how the shield of faith can protect us in the realities of life, the nitty-gritty of life. So I want to share this with you. So one day I was praying, spending some time praying, and I had some resentment in my heart against a certain person. And I knew that God wanted me to let go of that resentment. But, and I really wanted to let go of it, but I just couldn't. It was just embedded in my heart, and I felt so strongly about it, I just couldn't let go of it. And so I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, please, I want to let go of this resentment, but I just feel it so strongly. I feel that I've been hurt, I've been wronged, and I feel resentful about it. How do I let go of that? And as I was thinking and praying about that, I remembered an illustration I had seen in a book not long before. And you may have seen an illustration like this. And at the time, I kind of wrote it off a little bit like, well, yeah, if it were only that easy. But the illustration went like this. It was a picture, a drawing of Jesus on a throne, and he was at the top of a staircase. And there was a woman on the staircase walking up the stairs toward Jesus. And in her hands, she had a box. And this box was gift wrapped with a ribbon on it and everything. But the idea was that in this box was her worries, her resentments and bitterness, anxieties, whatever it was that she had weighing on her heart, those things were in the box. And she was walking up the stairs, and she was going to hand the box to Jesus. And then she would leave that box with Jesus, and she would be able to walk down the stairs, and now she would be free from all of those worries and bad feelings and bad attitudes and anxieties, and she could go on with her life. And, that does sound kind of simplistic. But it's an interesting way to think about giving our cares to God. And he does. He says, cast all your cares on him. And because he cares for you. And he does want us to give our cares and our burdens to him. But sometimes it's not all that easy. So as I was praying, and I remembered that illustration, I thought, I think I'll try that in my mind. I'll picture myself taking this box, and in this box is my resentment toward this person. And I'll take that box up that stairway to Jesus' throne, and I'll give it to him. And maybe that will help me to get, it'll help me to give this over to the Lord and stop hanging on to it. So in my mind's eye, I pictured myself with this box starting up the stairs, but I only got a couple of steps up, and I just couldn't go any farther, and I dropped down to my knees, and I looked at that box, and it was like, in my imagination, I saw terrible insects and creepy crawlies coming out of that box. There were these huge cockroaches and scorpions, and those giant centipedes, like about that long. They were there, and they were crawling out of that box, and they were crawling up my arms, and they were grabbing onto my arms. And with them grabbing my arms and grabbing in the box, I couldn't let go of the box. It was like we were all one solid mass of crawling critters, and I couldn't let go of the box. And I was on my knees, and I was trying to get up those stairs to Jesus. And I looked down again, and it was no longer insects. It was demons. It was demons, and they were reaching out of that box and crawling out, and they were grabbing into my arms with their claws, and they wouldn't let me let go of the box. And I called out to the Lord. I said, Lord, help me let go of this resentment. And right away, I thought of my shield of faith, the shield of faith that surrounds me. It surrounds me, that force field that is covering my arms, covering my body, my head and my legs and my feet. And as I trusted God for that shield of faith, I saw, in my mind's eye, I saw those demons just slipping away off my arms. They could not get a hold because I had the shield of faith. They couldn't penetrate, their claws couldn't penetrate that force field. We have the shield of faith protecting us. Nothing can ruin us. Nothing can destroy us when we're trusting in God. And I pictured those demons just falling weak and helpless to the ground. And I, with the box, proceeded up the stairs to Jesus. I gave him the box. And you know what? Next to him was an empty chair. And he said, this chair's for you. It's been prepared just for you. And in Ephesians chapter 2, we read that Jesus Christ is seated in heavenly places, and he has seated us there with him. When we trust in him, he has identified us with Jesus Christ and put us in the heavenly places sitting next to Jesus. And so in my imagination, I sat down next to Jesus, and I realized that I no longer had that burden of resentment. It was gone. I had given it to Jesus. And I know that's all just imagination, but many, many times, in fact, pretty much every day, I ask the Lord to enable me to let go of any resentment I might have in my heart, of any fear or anxiety, to let go. We can let go of those things. We don't have to hang on to them. We are protected by our spiritual armor, by our shield. We have the ability to let go. We do it by trusting Jesus that he's taking care of us. And it's such a freeing thing to be able to let go of those things and not be hanging on to those things that are going to create bitterness in your heart. Now, a friend told me just the other day, we were talking about, I got to give that over to the Lord. And he said, I always kind of laugh when people say, I have to give that to the Lord or I have to put it into God's hands. And he said, because, everything's already in God's hands. Our problem is we try to grab it out of his hands. And I've thought about that so many times since then. Because really, technically, God has all of my bad attitudes. He's got everything in his hands. But I'm constantly trying to grab him back. He's got his plans for me in his hands. He's got my dreams and my hopes for the future. They're in his hands. But I come along and I try to get him out because, why? Because I think I can handle him better than he can? Really? Let's let go. Let God handle it. He's God. We are not God. Let's not try to be God. We're not very good at it. I just read a quote the other day in a book I was reading. And it was talking about how hard we make life for ourselves. How hard it is to be addicted to trusting ourselves to do God's job. Isn't that an interesting way to put it? We really are, aren't we? We're addicted to trusting in ourselves to do God's job. He says, trust me, I've got it. Let's trust him and trust his provision, his shield of faith that will protect us. Trust him. And remember, God loves you so much. His love for you is steadfast. It's never going to fall apart or break down or lessen. It'll never be less than it is. His love is steadfast and it's great and overwhelming and all-encompassing. You can count on it. Thanks for watching.